This is a great pub. If you go in the back, there's one of the best patios in the city because there's two giant, majestic weeping willows that keep it cool in the summer. No, it's great. I like to come here for a Guinness. It's the beer that I would have at a pub growing up. Well, not growing up, after I was 19, of course. In Newfoundland, the pub that I went to, they could pour a Guinness. So yeah, I come here for a Guinness. I'm no different than anyone else in show business. I'm always worried that I'm not going to have a job. And you know, when 22 Minutes started and we signed on, the deal was we were going to create six half-hour episodes. And so we signed on, I think, for 10 weeks' work, which was always a magic number where I grew up. But it was the longest contract I'd ever signed in my life at that point. I'd never, ever had a job for longer than 5 weeks. And so it was a big deal, and I've been working ever since. But still, I always feel like, oh my God, it's all going to go away at any minute. I'm friends with Gordon Pinsent, and Gordon Pinsent, you know, growing up was an idol of mine, and he's one of the great Canadian actors, of course, but he's from Newfoundland. And that's what struck me. I can remember when I first met Gordon and became friends with him socially, that he always had that fear that he wasn't going to work again, which I almost, at the same time, I was like, good God, if you're Gordon Pinsent, you always work. If you're not going to work, who's going to work? But yeah, everyone has that. If you lose that, I can't even imagine. One thing that I've noticed in hindsight is that, you know, when I started in this game, politics has always been my sport, and I'm still, you know, a political junkie, and I follow a lot of politics. And obviously, when I started with the Mercer Report, I wanted politics to be a big part of it. Now it remains a large part of it because of my commentaries and a lot of the topical sketches and satirical stuff that we do. But when it comes to me leaving the studio and going out and doing the road segments, which are a very big, important part of the show, it's probably 80% of the show, I now avoid politics. Once upon a time, my ideal shoot would involve a cabinet minister or a prime minister or a premier, and now I never even really consider doing that anymore. They're not as interesting, they're not as willing to play, they're much more disciplined, and by discipline I mean not personal discipline, but they're much more controlled from the head office. And you know, they're just, yeah, they're not individuals in the same way that they used to be. Oh, they're not just talking heads. That's exactly what they are. They're, you know, a good cabinet minister is someone who can, they're like an anchorman from the 80s. You know, someone who can read the teleprompter and never deviate. That's what passes for a good cabinet minister these days, and that doesn't really make for a good TV. It's not a problem for me with the television show because, quite frankly, when I stopped talking to so many politicians, my numbers went up. I was one of the few people, my executive producer, Gerald Lunds, when I would say, like, oh, we'll get, you know, the minister of so-and-so and do that with them, he would say, nobody cares about that person except for you. And I'd say, oh, okay. And it turns out he was right. So there wasn't a negative impact on the show by any stretch.